Even though we're still 2 months away from the launch of Pitch Black on July 16th in Pokémon TCG Live, we already know every single card that will be in our next set. Yeah, in case you've been living under a rock rough, Chaos Rising is our next set out on Thursday, meaning Pitch Black follows just 55 days after. We know from the press release there will be 6 total megas in Pitch Black, including Darkrai, Excadrill, Chandelure, and the newly revealed Zeraora. This means the 2 leftover megas in Japan, Slowbro and Delphox, are essentially confirmed as there's currently no other viable options. Do note that Pitch Black has 3 more cards than Japan's Abyssai, which it's based on, so we'll also get one of either Jet or Grisham. To save you the 10 seconds of reading, they're both useless. I'll kick off this preview with a closer look at Mega Zeraora EX. Unfortunately, it's not going to bring Lightning decks back to life. Honestly, for a set I'm overall looking forward to, the Megas are a tad bulb underwhelming. Darkrai's whole existence is ruined by Mist, Rocky, and Bubbly energy. Excadrill is outclassed by Metagross, while Chandelure actually might be the best of the bunch at least once Latias EX rotates. Slowbro, meanwhile, mostly only fits inside a regular Slowking deck, giving you a heavy hitter who retaliates for a decent amount of damage. Finally, Delphox is funny, potentially accelerating Stage 1s and Stage 2s directly into play. But it takes 2 turns to set up, yet I'm not sure it's better than simply running Brandtree. Zeraora fits somewhere in the middle of Pitch Black mega playability. For a single lightning, it does 60 damage times the number of lightning energy attached to itself. If it was, I don't know, 40 or 50 damage for each energy attached to all your Pokemon, it'd be awesome. Just pair it with the eel and you're good to go. Them going this route means you need 6 energy on Zeraora to KO 99% of threats in Standard. Except it only has 270 hit points to go along with the fighting weakness. Even if everything goes right, you're still probably only dealing 240 damage turn 2, and your turn 1 is likely awful. It's much better to go with something like Baby Zeraora and Zekrom EX. The baby snipes a bench Meowth or Fez or Latias for 3 energy. And for that same 3 energy, Zekrom can deal 330 or 380 damage towards the end of the game. Best of all, neither of them give up 3 prizes. Zeraora's second attack, Zepto turn, costs 3 lightning to deal 150 damage and hit and run. Sure, making them waste a bosses to KO your Mega is annoying, but 150 isn't exactly a great number. Sadly, for all these reasons and more, I have to give Mega Zeraora 2.5 toes out of 5. The last of the type-specific special energy, Bolty Lightning, borrows the effect of powerful colorless energy from the Sword and Shield days. Coincidentally, it doesn't appear as though we'll get a special colorless energy this time around. Mercifully, this also extends to Dragon types. I mean, could you imagine if they released something called Dragon D's Nuts Energy that let Dragapult take an extra prize with a KO? Anyway, Bolty increases the damage the lightning Pokemon it's attached to deals by 20, and it stacks. My initial thought is, sure, it allows Mega Zeraora to one-shot Dragapult with 5 lightning energy attached, not 6. And that realization made me want to take half my toe out of its mouth because that number is still a bit ridiculous. Looking outward, Bolty helps Mega Magnetric immensely. Now it can deal 220 damage with Riotous Blasting, all without discarding any energy. Aside from a fighting weakness, that was always my biggest gripe with the big cat. Plus, if you do the discard, Mega Lucario's in range now too. It's just disappointing that the lightning type as a whole looks like it's going to be underutilized heading into the back half of 2026. That being said, the Pokemon Company is doing everything in their power to appeal to degenerates by opening a footbath in Japan. I mean, could you imagine getting your feet washed by a Vaporeon? That would feel way too good. Also, they're doing everything to make Magnetric playable, as evidenced by the new Baby Magnetric. Where the Mega makes itself immune to damage from basics, the Baby walls evolutions. I didn't find the Dragapult matchup too impossible with Mega Magnetric though, and they can always attack with Monkey Dory, so I'm not sure it's 100% necessary. Especially when Flash Barrier only does 50 damage or 70 with a Bolty, but against Festival Lead, you just kinda win. Continuing the lightning theme, we have Vikavolt. Before I talk about the new one, you have to remember that this Charge-a-Bug exists. Its attack immediately benches up to 3 Charge-a-Bug from deck. This is important because there's a Vikavolt that does damage based on your bench Charge-a-Bug for 2 lightning. So you could theoretically have 4 Charge-a-Bug in play, rare candy a Grubbin, and deal over 400 damage with Circuit Cannon. But if it's late in the game and you forgot to charge your bugs, the new Vikavolt can save you. Again, for 2 lightning, this guy does 260 damage. However, it must have a Bolty energy attached. So this will turn the whole Vikavolt line into a slightly better road deck. Run Magneton or Electric for energy acceleration, attach your Bolties properly, and you'll still probably lose because Dragapult is everywhere. If it hurts to bend over, you probably remember Kiawe. This was a supporter from the Sun and Moon days that accelerated 4 fire from deck to one of your Pokemon at the cost of ending your turn. The most popular partner was the Fire Turkey, who did 180 damage, which was a good number not too long ago. I bring this up because Misty's energy is just Kiawe for water types. Play Misty, put 4 basic water from your deck onto one of your Pokemon, then your turn ends. Unfortunately, in 2026, this isn't good. The reason is because back in the Kiawe days, you could play a supporter turn 1 going first. You can't do that anymore, which makes my eyes misty. Obviously, they want us to pair Misty with Wailord, who I'll talk about in a minute. Instead, let's look at some of the other ways to utilize Misty. The main drawback, aside from ending your turn, is that whoever gets the energy can be dusted and KO'd. But if you place all the energy on Titan EX, who can't be bossed or captured, it's safe. Put it in a Dewgong deck and you have 4 water energy. But it makes far more sense to pair Dewgong with something like Glass Trumpet and Terras rather than wasting one of your attacking turns on Misty. Tied with Mega Venusaur for the most hit points, Wailord EX is a Stage 1 2-prizer with 380 HP. Its first attack kinda sucks though, dealing just 120 damage for 3 water. But if you attach 5 water, it's hitting for 270. Again, not amazing, especially with the drawback of falling asleep afterwards. This is a situation where Misty's energy seems viable, but only after Wailord's in play. Because with a lightning weakness, actually that doesn't really matter. I was going to say Zeraora will be a problem. But you one-shot the Thundercat, yet they need 4 energy to return the favor. Thankfully, there is a way to deal with the sleep. Bubbly Water Energy, which is out on Thursday in Chaos Rising, prevents water types from being affected by status conditions. Problem solved. And attach a Heavy Baton to Wailord, now 3 basic energy gets preserved upon knockout. Or go with Hero's Cape, now it has 480 hit points. Add in some Jumbo Ice Cream, it's semi-viable. And if you whiff a Misty, Delibird can help power up Wailord if the energy's in hand, with Baby Wailord a great closer. It's just, again, having to waste an attacking turn to set up energy on somebody who could get gusted and thrusted means the whale probably won't be lording over standard. A Pokemon I always forget exists, Lurantis EX is essentially a reverse Mega Delayed EX. Actually, never mind, because a reverse delayed suggests it's playable. For a single grass, Ludicrous does 260 damage if it was healed that turn. There's several ways to achieve this, including Shuckle and even good old Potion. But it just seems way too situational. First off, 4 Risky Ruins is a must. Then you have to play a Molga or Diggersby to damage your own bench since you might fail to find your stadium or heal too much. Then you have to hope your opponent doesn't lure you into a sticky situation where they take advantage of the fact that your deck is super slow. While I can definitely see this combo working, 260 isn't enough against Dragapult. So you deal 260 to them, and they respond with a double Munkidori plus Phantom Dive, taking a KO. The last of 4 regular EXs in Pitch Black to go along with Rampardos, Wailord, and Lurantis, Morpeko could have been good. With Risky Ruins, placing 2 damage counters on it would have been super easy, a slight inconvenience if you couldn't find Colress. Except they went and made Morpeko a Dark type, meaning it's unaffected by Risky Ruins. Instead, you have to pair it with Toxtricity. Use Sinister Surge twice, now Morpeko's got 4 damage counters on itself, leaving it with a wimpy 140 hit points. That's actually a good thing because its attack does 40 base damage plus 40 more for each damage counter on Hangry Pikachu. Unfortunately, 5 damage counters is the magic number, letting you deal 240. So you're pretty much forced to run Emolga or Diggersby. Except then you leave a weak 2-prize liability sitting on your bench who Dragapult will feast on. I'll mention this combo again later, but if you're into beating yourself off slightly, it's much better to go with Baby Brute Bonnet plus Munkidori. It's stronger and easier to get set up, provided they don't have that stupid new Patrat in play. Now it's time to move on to the rest of the newly revealed Pokemon in Pitch Black, starting with old Banana Chin. My guess is that they want us to put the Tropius in a Ghost Veil deck, because for any energy, it searches the top 6 cards of your deck, putting any Pokemon there directly into your hand. You can then use Naveen or Carmine or Ultra Ball to put some of those Ghost Veilers in the discard pile, building up to a Dhelmise. Maybe a copy sneaks into the deck, but your list will revolve around being able to get at least 4 in the bin turn 1 so you can attack with Dhelmise. Going with Tropius feels like giving up, which I only do every time I see someone flip over a Dwebble. Heatran's interesting, but also impractical like a Joker. Lava Wall does 120 damage, making the Hot Frog immune to damage from burn Pokemon next turn. In addition to Dangerous Laser, which is a waste of an ace spec, you have Volcanion EX's ability to guarantee burn. On top of that, Macargo exists. If they move their active at any point during their turn when it's in play, the new one is burned. Unfortunately, burn is a coin flip, so if they flip heads between turns, you're screwed. Worst of all, Lava Wall requiring 3 energy is more awkward than that time a barefoot cashier said, "My eyes are up here," and I replied with, "You too." While I appreciate the interesting effect, it's just not something that'll work regularly. This is a weird one. Sizzlipede has the bug Panic Attack, which can deal up to 350 damage for 3 colorless. Except Sizzlipede's the only Pokemon in Pitch Black with that attack, so we won't know this archetype's true power for at least another couple months, which is really weird. What I will say right now is that I'm very worried about the Bug Panic card staying in the deck while everything else is discarded, because it's a lot easier to recycle Pokemon than lost supporters or items. Despite getting a Mega in the new game, we still have only ever received one Baxcalibur card. Why do I bring this up? Because Pitch Black will grant us our 12th freaking Charcadet, but it's the new Armarouge you care about who is interesting and even semi-playable. For a single fire, it does 40 base damage plus 40 more for each bench Pokemon with a fire energy on it. Have 5, that's 240 total. Along with somebody like Team Rocket Spidops, you could run it with Glass Trumpet and Terapagos EX. Plus, if you do decide to toot your own horn, that also opens up the possibility of running Area 0, letting you potentially one-shot Dragapult. And if we ever get a good Mega Fire-type basic, Oricorio could do great things here. Definitely keep an eye on this one. We've always had effects like this that knock out or discard your opponent's active at the end of their turn, and they've never worked. Switching, retreating, and evolving all break the effect, making them far too situational. So while in your head you can poison them with Qwilfish, then Roxy's to stick them in the active, no, Jinx is not a thing. While it's cool that we're getting a Psychic Annihilate, it makes me lose my cool that it attacks for 2 Psychic. Even worse, the thing can only evolve from a Fighting Mankey and Primeape, meaning there's no real synergy with the other Annihilate aside from Neo Upper. Instead, you'd have to build a solo Annihilate deck, which won't be good. Ghost Blow, which is what Mistress Paddlebottom gave me on Halloween, does just 100 damage and spreads 5 damage counters. That's kinda horrible. And the ability is Mega Hawluchas. Except when have you ever seen a Mega Hawlucha deck? And even if you flip heads, allowing Annihilate to survive with 10 HP, they can still Monkey Dora, your Phantom Dive, or Baby Frostlass it for knockout. Remember last season when we had Baxcalibur? Yeah, that would have been the perfect card for Seeking, who needs 10 water energy attached to itself to do anything. Without the Pokemon that somehow still only has 1 card, it's unplayable. Thanks to the arrival of Surfing Beach last year and bubbly water energy coming in Chaos Rising, Palafin EX is in a decent spot. Incidentally, Palafin EX is basically Lurantis EX but easier to repeat with much higher hit points. The new Palafin in Pitch Black doesn't mean you'll suddenly Dolph win every game, it just gives you a good closer. For 2 water, if your opponent has exactly 1 prize left, Baby Palafin does 280 damage. Though Blood Moon Ursaluna EX might still be better. It's been nearly 8 years since our last new card featuring the best Alola starter. Unfortunately, it wasn't worth the wait. When you evolve into Primarina, you can heal all damage from one of your Pokemon. Cool, I guess. Except you're most likely going to be healing a Mega who already has access to Wally's Compassion. And everybody else can use Jumbo Ice Cream instead of a Stage 2 with a weak attack. Plus, when have you ever seen a Daxbun EX get played? Or the Leafeon that does the same thing with its attack? Yeah, it kinda feels like they did Primarina dirty. The most obvious pre-release card I've ever seen, Miraidon, is maybe a one-of in Lightning decks. The concept is that they want us to put 2 Lightning Energy on this thing, KO a Dreepy or Decloaked, and let it get knocked out by damage. When that happens, you can move 2 basic Lightning from it to somebody on your bench like Zeraora. Best of all, it can also one-shot a Monkey Dory, you just need a Bolty Energy, which doesn't get sent back when Miraidon's beaten off. Still, if you go first and get back-to-back manual attachments, it's a decent early attacker. Though I will say that Stunfisk is so much better. If Miraidon gets a pre-release promo, you have to assume Koraidon will get one too. And if you missed my latest PTCGL update video, that format arrives in-game next week. In Standard though, Koraidon's simply outclassed. I think it's another situation where they wanted to give us a way to easily KO Dracloak, because for a single fighting it does 60 damage to evolutions. Drink an orange Gatorade, that's 90. But Solrock is so much better. And for 3 energy it does 190, losing it all in the process. Problem is, if you're running a basic heavy fighting deck with Barbaracle, Okidogi and Ursaluna have already proven their prowess. So this might be one dinosaur you don't want to ride on. This next card does not make Mabostiff. For 3 darkness, meaning you need at least 2 Toxtricity in play at all times, Mabostiff does 210 damage, taking 100 extra on your opponent's turn. You're much better off running Baby Brute Bonnet with Monkey Dory as opposed to a Stage 1 who literally gets one-shot by Badoo through weakness. Similar but opposite, Bronzong does 120 damage for 3 energy, taking 100 less next turn. You can make this work with Metal Maker Matang, but why would you want to? Chaos Rising Metagross is all that deck needs. Also, who decides which Pokemon get a new card? Because this is our 5th freaking Bronzong in Standard, yet it took Primarina 8 years to get one? The only situation where Starmie really makes sense is if you're item locked by Badoo. Discard up to 2 metal from hand, knock it out, and now you have energy in the graveyard for Archaludon. Except that deck already has Prism Tower and Ultra Ball and Carmine, making this kinda not necessary. Currently in Standard, there's a Skeledirge who does 60 damage plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon. Apparently that card's a lot better than I thought because the Pokemon Company effectively reprinted it with Toucannon. To be fair, Toucan Sam's better. For a single colorless, it can deal up to 260 damage if both benches are full. Play the Skin Flute or use somebody like Lickitung and it's feasible. Plus, every Toucannon draws you a card each turn, and Fan Rotom helps find Pick-a-Peck and Trumpet early. Add in Area Zero and somebody like Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon alongside Moltres for early pressure, and I'm actually kinda excited about this. If you hate learning new things and missed my previous Pitch Black preview video on the new Zero card hand archetype, you're in luck. Because there's also a new Silvally to help that entire deck. If there's no cards in your feet, Silvally can grab any supporter from deck. That's perfect, meaning you almost always have access to a play, be it bosses or Larry Skill. Unfortunately, a major issue with the no handy deck is, let's say you just took a knockout and grabbed an energy off the prizes. Then your top deck is also an energy. What the hell do you do then? Well, what you do is realize why this is a road deck and not a competitive one. A card that you think would work perfectly with Silvally and Slowbro or Thievul is Gladion's Decisive Battle. If it's the last card in hand when you play it, your non-rule box Pokemon does 80 extra damage to their active. In reality, Festival Lead will probably throw in a copy. I know it's not the easiest to get a zero card hand, but with Thwackey always grabbing what you need, pro-level players like me will win every battle decisively. I mean, Diplin can literally deal 180 damage twice thanks to Gladion before factoring in Brave Bangle. If you enjoy tempting fate like me when I let my dog with a biting problem like peanut butter off my toes, Bombardier is a hilarious partner for the new retry badge. If both coin flips are heads, it puts any Pokemon from deck onto your bench, be it a basic stage 1 or stage 2. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're probably better off running Toxidiri EX or Reuniqueless or Mega Delphox or even Kingdra EX if you want to flash Pokemon into play. Bombardier is just too risky. Speaking of retry badge, I've been saying for years that we desperately need a coin reflip card. This isn't what I meant. Exclusive to colorless Pokemon, this tool allows you to reflip and try again. Mega Kangaskhan by far benefits the most from this. Now you get 2 chances to flip a single heads, one-shotting things like Fez and Latias in every Ogerpon and Raging Bolt. But Larry's the Dunsparce EX will be the funniest partner. I was underwhelmed when I originally tried it, even with Kamala Harris accelerating energy. Retry badge at least gives you a second opportunity to blame PDCGL for flipping all tails. Back in the XY days, you could simply play a supporter for guaranteed energy discard. In 2026, Rust Syndicate Grunt only activates if somebody was just knocked out. Then you can discard 1 energy from one of their Pokemon. Considering we already have Crushing Hammer and Enhanced Hammer and Handheld Fan, and Stall isn't doing much at the moment, I'm not sure if it's worth it. The only place it really makes sense is with the new Bastiodon. If they don't have at least 3 energy on their active, they can't deal damage if Bastiodon's on your bench. Crushing Hammer and Handheld Fan still seem stronger though, especially since they can just Night Stretcher back any lost energy, meaning Airy or Xerosic are much better supporter options. For the last new trainer in Pitch Black, we have Heroic Bomb. If most Megas did 240 damage, it would be good. But Lopunny does 230. Starmie is max 210, Kangaskhan and Greninja might be 200, and Lucario is typically happy with Aura Jab at 130. So a card that only activates when a Mega hits for 240 or more damage is extremely situational. And even if you fulfill the clause, the Mega only takes 120 damage to the face. And that's assuming they don't use Tool Scrapper or plop down a Jamming Tower. Not making this 200 to activate and 10 in return really hurt Heroic Bomb's viability. I think between my previous week's videos plus this one, I've previewed every card coming in Pitch Black on July 16th. If I had to come up with an early top 10 list of which ones I think will be the most played, Bastiodon with Fossil Excavation Site seems way too annoying. I'd put the entire Ghost Veil archetype here if I could, but Delmise will be your main attacker with Spiritomb to clean everybody up. As a result of my high hopes for that deck, Gwyn might be a good trainer. Even with Latias, Chandelure still seems strong, and Gladion's Decisive Battle is an easy one-of in Festival Lead. While I did want to include Armarouge or maybe even Toucannon, until I'm proven wrong, I'll pretend like Mega Darkrai is good. I'll do an in-depth review of the set closer to launch once we know how well each card is doing in a competitive environment. Until then, you can pause the video and read each card like a nerd, coming up with your own conclusions rather than having a YouTuber tell you what to think. If you do, make sure to thank Pokemon Proxies, who did an amazing job once again creating proxies for everything coming in Pitch Black. For now, I know the competition isn't exactly stiff like me watching Golden Girls, but I can officially say that Pitch Black is the best all-around set of 2026. Unfortunately, it doesn't have anything close to Meowth, the extra special red card, in terms of universal usability. Worst of all, despite being our last set before Worlds in August, Pitch Black doesn't really add any new consistency items or supporters, which Standard is desperately lacking. However, we have several potential new archetypes like Ghost Veil, a few seemingly decent road deck options, and the revival of fossils thanks to the new stadium. Overall, I'm excited for Pitch Black, even if I know the power level is under 9,000.